like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, so picture this. You're a Miami Dolphins player, used to that South Florida sunshine.
Right.
And bam, suddenly you're in Green Bay for Thanksgiving and the temperature's plummeting.
Yeah.
We've got this article about the Packers' victory over the Dolphins, and it's safe to say things got a little chilly both on the field and the scoreboard.
Definitely.
So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack some of the key takeaways from this AFC versus NFC showdown.
Love it.
We'll cover the standout players, the game-changing moments, and what this victory means for the Packers as they head into December and the final stretch of the season.
Yeah.
And by the end, you'll be dropping Packers knowledge like it's a frozen football.
You're right. I like it.
All right, so I think what's really fascinating is how this game played out like a classic Green Bay winter battle, you know?
Yeah.
We always hear about home field advantage, but it's almost like the Packers weaponized the weather itself.
That's a good point.
So let's set the scene. Packers beat the Dolphins 30-17 on Thanksgiving. And it wasn't exactly a balmy Florida day in Wisconsin, was it?
No, not even close.
What was it like?
Kickoff temperature was 27 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And dropping throughout the game.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, that win brings the Packers to a 9-3 record.
Okay.
Which sets up a huge GE divisional matchup against the Detroit Lions on December 5th.
Oh my goodness. So the Lions are sitting pretty right now at 11-1 at the top of the NFC North.
Yep.
And they already beat Green Bay earlier this season.
They did.
So this could be a real turning point for the Packers. No pressure.
Big game.
Speaking of pressure, Jordan Love has really been stepping up.
Yeah.
The article dives into his performance against Miami, and it really sounds like he's building on that hot streak from the end of last season.
For sure, he had another strong outing, completing 21 of 28 passes for 274 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
And most importantly, 0 interceptions in that freezing weather.
That's huge.
That's a 129.2 passer rating. But it's not just the stats. Remember last season, in those last 8 games, he had 18 touchdowns with only 1 pick.
Yeah, that was an incredible run. So are we seeing that same level of decision-making under pressure that Coach LaFleur was praising?
Yeah.
The article mentions Love's improved checkdowns, taking those deep shots when they're there, and better pocket presence.
Yeah, you see it in specific plays, too. There was this one moment in the second quarter where the pocket was collapsing around him, and instead of forcing a throw, he calmly stepped up, scanned the field, and found Robert Tonyan for a crucial first down.
Oh, wow.
That's the kind of growth you want to see from a young quarterback.
So it's not just luck or, a fluke. It seems like genuine progress that's showing up on the field.
Exactly.
Now, we have to talk about this weather again because the article makes a really compelling case for it being a legitimate factor in this game.
Yeah.
The Packers, under Matt LaFleur, they have a winning record at home when the kickoff temperature is 32 degrees or colder.
And it's not just about being used to the cold. It's about the impact on the opponent.
Right. Think about it. Your hands are numb. The ball feels like a rock. Every movement is a little slower. That's what the Dolphins were facing.
Yeah, and the article quotes Packers safety, Xavier McKinney, saying that the cold affected their whole team, referring to Miami.
Interesting.
They weren't just talking about Tua.
Right.
It seemed like the entire Dolphins squad was impacted by those chilly conditions.
Yeah.
So were there any specific moments where you saw the weather, maybe playing a role in a play or in a decision?
Absolutely. In the first quarter, Miami's punt returner muffed a punt.
Oh.
And it was recovered by the Packers.
Yeah.
It's hard to say definitively,
right.
But, the cold, slippery ball could have been a factor.
Yeah.
Then in the third quarter, Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
He seemed to slip coming out of his break on a deep route, and Love's pass sailed incomplete.
Oh, wow.
Hill's known for his speed, but even the slightest hesitation on a frozen field can disrupt timing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So maybe it's not some mythical Packers advantage, right?
Yeah. But the weather definitely seems to, disrupt the game for that visiting team.
Yeah.
So beyond the big picture,
sure,
the article goes on to highlight some game-changing moments and standout players.
Okay.
Where should we start?
Well, wide receiver Jaden Reed had himself a day.
Oh, yeah.
2 touchdown catches.
Wow.
Marking his 3rd multi-touchdown game in 27 career appearances.
So not bad for a second-year player.
Not bad at all.
Those are some impressive numbers for sure. I mean, are those elite for a second-year receiver, or are we grading on a curve here?
Yeah. You're right to push back a bit on the stats alone.
Yeah.
What impressed me was the variety of his catches.
Okay.
He had a deep touchdown grab where he just beat his defender with pure speed.
Yeah.
Then later he showed his toughness by hauling in a contested catch over the middle, taking a big hit in the process.
Oh, wow.
That kind of versatility makes him a valuable asset for Love and this offense.
So it's not just the numbers, but the way that he's making those catches, that's catching your eye. Okay, speaking of catching your eye, the article also highlighted rookie tight end Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, he had a fantastic game, tying his career high with 6 receptions for 78 yards, and he ran over several Dolphins defenders, showing that physical play style we saw glimpses of last season.
Oh, nice. So we're seeing those flashes of brilliance turning into consistent performance now.
Hopefully.
That's a good sign for the Packers. But beyond the offensive highlights, there was a crucial goal line stand by the Packers defense early in the fourth quarter that I really want to dig into.
Yeah, this was a pivotal moment. Miami was trailing 27-11 and had a 2nd and goal from the 1-yard line. Yeah. They ran 4 consecutive plays, and the Packers defense stopped them every single time.
Wow. So let's break that down. What formations did they use? Which players made those key tackles? Was this like schematic brilliance, individual effort, a bit of both?
Well, on the first 2 downs, they stacked the box, bringing an extra safety down to stop the run. Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt made 2 huge stops at the line of scrimmage. Then on 3rd and 4th down, they switched to a dime package, bringing in extra defensive backs to cover the passing lanes. Rasul Douglas broke up a pass intended for Jalen Waddle, and then on 4th down, Preston Smith sacked Tua for a loss of 5. It was a total team effort.
That's the kind of defensive grit that can win championships. So we've got Love playing well, the defense making big stops, and the weather working in their favor. Were there any other standout players from the article that we should mention?
Yeah, there were a couple more players who made key contributions.
Okay.
Robert Rochelle recovered a muffed punt that led directly to the Packers' first touchdown.
Right.
Special teams plays like that can really swing the momentum of a game.
For sure, for sure.
And we can't forget about the defensive line. Kingsley Enagbare and Lucas Van Ness had back-to-back sacks in the second quarter, effectively killing a Miami drive. It was a dominant performance from the Packers' pass rush.
So we've got a really clear picture here of the Packers, firing on all cylinders in this game.
Yeah.
But even in a victory, there are always areas for improvement.
Of course, no team is perfect.
Right.
What stood out to you from the article?
Well, the article pointed out a couple of areas where the Packers could improve, starting with second-year wide receiver Dontavion Wicks.
Okay.
He's been having some trouble with dropped passes, which is a concern for an offense that needs reliable targets.
Yeah.
The article mentioned he had another drop in this game.
Right.
And now leads the league with 8 drops on the season.
Wow.
His drop rate of 15.7% is among the worst in the NFL.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. A few drops can be attributed to bad luck or concentration lapses, but when it becomes a pattern, it's a red flag.
Yeah.
Wicks has the physical tools to be a good receiver.
Yeah.
But he needs to improve his hands and his focus if he wants to be a consistent contributor.
So it's not just about the physical talent, but also, the mental aspect of the game as well. The other area for improvement highlighted in the article is the Packers' pass defense. While they held Miami to 17 points, Tua Tagovailoa still managed to complete 37 of 46 passes for 365 yards.
That suggests some potential vulnerabilities in the secondary.
Yeah, is this something to be concerned about moving forward?
It's definitely worth noting Tua had a very efficient day passing, especially considering the conditions. The Packers secondary did make some plays, but they also gave up some big chunks of yardage.
Yeah.
They'll need to tighten things up against tougher opponents, especially with that Lions game looming.
Speaking of the Lions, let's shift our focus to that crucial divisional matchup.
Sure.
They're 11-1 for a reason,
Yeah.
and they beat Green Bay earlier this season.
Right. So what are you looking at as the key factors heading into this game?
Well, the biggest factor to watch, in my opinion, is the quarterback duel.
Okay.
Jordan Love versus Jared Goff.
Right.
Both quarterbacks are having solid seasons, and their performances will likely determine the outcome of this game. Love's been on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
But Goff has the experience and the weapons to give the Packers defense fits.
For sure.
So it's not just a matter of who's the better quarterback on paper, right? It's about who can make the plays when it matters most, especially in a hostile environment like Ford Field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But beyond the quarterbacks, the Packers' run defense will need to be at its best. The Lions have a strong rushing attack led by DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams.
Right.
If they can control the clock and keep Love off the field, it could be a long day for Green Bay.
So it sounds like the Packers need to disrupt Detroit's offensive rhythm and force them into passing situations where their defense has a better chance to make plays. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, it'll be a chess match between the coaching staffs to see who can dictate the pace and style of the game. Matt LaFleur will need to come up with a game plan that exploits Detroit's weaknesses while minimizing their strengths.
Now, for a bit of fun, if you had to pick one player from the Packers to be the X factor in this game against the Lions, who would you choose and why?
That's a tough one. But I'm going to go with cornerback Jerry Alexander.
Okay.
He's one of the most talented defensive backs in the league. And if he could shut down the Lions' top receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it would significantly limit their offensive options.
I like that choice. Alexander is a playmaker, and when he's at his best, he can take over a game.
To wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listener with a final thought. Something to chew on as they watch the Packers take on the Lions.
Here's a provocative question. Will Jordan Love's continued development be enough to carry the Packers past a tough Lions team and make a deep playoff run?
Now, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've seen flashes of brilliance from Love, but can he consistently perform at a high level against elite competition like the Lions, especially in a must-win game?
That's the million-dollar question, and the answer will determine the Packers' fate this season. But here's another thing to consider. We talked about Wicks and his struggles with drops, right?
Yes, but you're not suggesting that he's the key to a deep playoff run, are you? Hear me out. Despite those struggles, he has the potential to be a major contributor to this offense. If he can overcome those drop issues and become a reliable target for Love, it would add another dimension to the Packers' passing attack.
So you're saying that a player's development, even someone who's currently struggling, can be just as impactful as a big win or a crucial matchup? It's all part of the story that unfolds over the course of a season.
Exactly. And that's what makes following a team like the Packers so compelling. You're not just watching a sport, you're witnessing a story unfold with all its twists and turns, its triumphs and setbacks.
It's those individual narratives within the larger team narrative that really capture your attention, don't they?
Yeah.
Speaking of narratives, this win over Miami was more than just a Thanksgiving treat. It was a statement win that sets the stage for a potentially thrilling final stretch of the season for Green Bay. We talked about the Packers almost weaponizing the weather.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about, this idea of weather as a broader strategic element in the NFL. Is this something that teams actively consider, or is it more of like a media narrative that gets blown out of proportion?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Teams definitely factor weather into their game plans, especially when playing in outdoor stadiums. And colder climates.
Yeah.
They'll practice with different types of footballs.
Oh, yeah.
They'll adjust their play calling and even consider, how the weather might impact their opponent's strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
But it's also true that the media tends to amplify the narrative of weather as a deciding factor.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to teams like the Packers, who have a reputation for playing well in the cold.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there's like a psychological element to it, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like if a team comes into Lambeau Field in December and it's snowing, do they already feel like they're at a disadvantage before the game even starts?
There's definitely a mental aspect to it. Think about the classic Ice Bowl game.
Oh, yeah.
Between the Packers and the Cowboys back in 1967. The temperature was minus 13 degrees and the field was a sheet of ice.
Oh, my goodness.
It's hard to imagine any team playing their best in those conditions. But the Packers, being used to the cold, were able to pull out a victory in the final seconds.
That's a legendary game, and it definitely adds to the mystique of the Packers and their connection to the elements. But looking beyond those historic moments, how do you see the weather potentially impacting the Packers' remaining games this season?
Well, they have several divisional games coming up against teams like the Vikings and the Bears, who also play in cold weather cities. So while those teams are accustomed to the cold, the Packers might still have a slight edge playing at home in those late season matchups.
It's almost like Lambeau Field itself becomes part of the team's identity, like this frozen fortress where opponents tremble.
It's an interesting way to think about it, and it certainly plays into the Packers' home field advantage.
Yeah.
But beyond the psychological impact, the weather can also have a direct impact on the game itself.
Okay.
Think about how a strong wind can affect a kicker's accuracy. or how a wet, slippery ball can lead to fumbles and turnovers.
Yeah, those are factors that can change the course of a game in an instant. It
Yeah.
makes you realize that football is more than just a game of X's and O's.
Right.
It's a battle against the elements as well.
And that's what makes it so unpredictable and exciting.
Yeah,
You never know what Mother Nature is going to throw at you.
for sure.
And that's part of the beauty of the sport.
So as we conclude this deep dive, what's the final takeaway for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they watch the Packers navigate the rest of the season?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the Packers are a team on the rise.
Okay.
They have a young, talented quarterback in Jordan Love, a solid defense, and a coaching staff that's proven they can win.
Right.
But they also have areas to improve, and their success will depend on their ability to address those weaknesses and adapt to whatever challenges come their way.
And one of those challenges, as we've discussed, could be the very weather they embrace as part of their identity.
Exactly. The weather in Green Bay can be unpredictable, and it'll be fascinating to see how it plays a role in the Packers' final push for the playoffs. Will it be their ally or their adversary? Only time will tell.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've gone deep on the Packers' Thanksgiving victory, explored the impact of weather on the game, and looked ahead to the challenges and opportunities that await them. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time for another insightful exploration of the world of sports.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have the ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.